I think we need to just emphasize this. You have studied a whole range of things. I mean, when I was looking at your resume, or CV as I would call it, it was like, wow. And we need to emphasize, just for the techies like myself watching, that you have a technical background. So could you take us back in time? What was the first degree that you did, and then how did that perhaps lead you down this road that you've taken?
Sure. So my first degree was actually in computer science. And that was my undergraduate degree. And I worked for 2 years in the private sector. Oh, gosh, I think my actual title was software engineer and quality assurance, quality control engineer. So basically, I had to write code and then I had to break whatever I had written. So it was a cool job. And the company that I worked for at the time, we experienced a breach. And this was back in the day. So now, don't start guessing how old I am, right?
21, come on.
Forever 21, right? But, we had a breach and then we were all scrambling. And this was a time when security wasn't even a topic in my degree. It hadn't even been covered. It was very traditional, right? Like your usual courses, operating systems, compilers, and all that kind of stuff. But we never talked about it. And that got me thinking, right? Because it didn't matter if everything was secure. Going back to that quote that you mentioned earlier, right? The statistic, that's how they got in. It was through good old-fashioned social engineering. And so that's what got me thinking, how cool would it be if we could look at cybersecurity in a more holistic way that extended just beyond the technical? Because clearly just focusing on the technical isn't working. And so I quit my job.
Wow.
I quit my job and I went back to school to study criminology. While I was there, I was interested in online gambling and cybercrime, which was a lot of fun. So a lot of gambling sites were being extorted, especially during peak betting periods. So I got to study that, which was really cool. And then when I went out to Rutgers for my PhD, I focused on critical infrastructure and cyber attacks. So I wanted to look at power grids and cyber attacks specifically, and I was interested in adversarial decision making. So how is it that I choose target A versus target B? And once I choose it and I start an attack, how does my decision making unfold as the attack progresses? So actually, went out to Defcon as a grad student. That was my first Defcon experience. And I salute the hacker community, because one of the things, the hacking community and I think educators are similar, because they, at least in this context, right? Because they love to learn and they love to tinker with things and they love to try different things. And they're very creative, and they supported me, right? They said, "Oh my God, you're a graduate student here. Okay, we'll take your survey," right? And so I got a lot of love from that community. So I looked at that for my dissertation. And then I continued to work in that space when I got my job here at Temple. I still started noticing that we weren't focusing on the human side, right, as much in terms of education. I was working in that space a little bit as a researcher, but I started noticing, and this is all anecdotal, so I don't have numbers for this or anything like that, but I'm wrapping up my 10th year at Temple. And for the first 5 years, 6 years, I taught the same way that I had been taught, right, in the social sciences. Yeah. Go research a topic, write a paper, and do a presentation. And what I was noticing is I had non-technical students in my class. So I teach an upper level cybercrime elective class. And I noticed that a lot of non-technical students who were in there said, "Well, we can't do cyber." And I said, "Well, why not?" Right? And they said, "Well, because we don't know how to code, or we don't know how to hack. We don't have those tech skills." And that really broke my heart, because you know how people think, right? And this is what we do as social scientists. We study human behavior. We look at group dynamics. We do all sorts of crazy things. And I've never understood why our expertise is celebrated in other areas, right? Like organized crime or terrorism or corporate crime. But when it comes to cyber, we don't get that much. It's starting to change, but it's not, nearly where I want it to be. And so I realized that this is a problem, because as an educator, am not doing my job if I'm not developing that confidence in my students that they can pursue this. And then on the flip side, I have computer science students who have to take my class. It's a requirement for a certificate that they have. Yes, exactly. You're going to love, and they sit in my class and they had their eyes rolling in the back going, why do we need to know this? And then exactly how, you asked me, well, what's your background? I have to relay the same thing because I came from that world.
Yep.
Right? And then they're like, wait, what? You were a computer scientist and now you're doing this? Maybe I should listen, and then I said, well, I looked at, I'm very envious of our, computer science faculty because they do a lot of really cool things in terms of hands-on learning. So they'll have labs, right, where you can do ethical hacking, you can do digital forensics, you can do all of those types of things. That is application-based learning. And I was like, what are we doing? We're doing nothing in that space.